will reconvene the regular council meeting. And the first item on the agenda is we have a delegation here tonight, and we have Joy Barrett on behalf of the Castlegar Sculpture Walk to present the regional sales and leasing department. Okay.
Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Joy Barrett, and I'm the Executive Director of Castlegar Sculpture Walk. Earlier this year, a local business owner reached out asking me to present to the Downtown Trail Improvement Committee, which I did in February, and in turn the committee asked if I could come here tonight to speak to council. I'll give you a bit of a background on our program leading into our sales and leasing. Founded 15 years ago, Sculpture Walk was originally based on a program in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Now, they were suffering from urban sprawl. As big stores opened up on the outskirts of the city, the downtown was becoming emptier, which was leading to increased crime, etc. A vicious circle, which was continuing. Their idea was to revitalize the downtown by bringing in art. And to make a long story short, it was a great success. If you go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota these days, beautiful downtown, lovely boutiques, lots of restaurants. And the great thing about their program too is that because the sculptures switched out each year, you're bringing everybody back continuously. So we had a couple of local regional artists who brought pieces down to their program and loved what they saw. And they brought the idea back to Castlegar City Council. This would have been, well, yeah, almost 15 years ago. And again, long story short, Castlegar City Council agreed to support the program to the tune of, I believe it was $25,000 at the beginning. $15,000 of that is the purchase of the People's Choice sculpture. Now, initially the program was run solely by volunteers. And then the city, and we are actually a separate nonprofit, we're a charitable nonprofit. They approached the Columbia Basin Trust to get a community development grant for 3 years, which the trust agreed to, and that enabled them to bring on a staff member, which was me. And I've got quite a long history in arts administration. I worked at the Calgary for the Centre for Performing Arts, the Banff Centre, moved to the UK and worked for the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, the University of the Arts in London. And then in 2008, we accidentally moved to Nelson, and I've been living there ever since. So in terms of our program overview, each year we feature approximately 30 sculptures in our downtown core. So as you can see by that brochure, that kind of details our program last year. And viewers are encouraged to vote for their favorite piece via ballot. And the winner of the People's Choice, again, is purchased by the city for the permanent public art collection. And we also have additional $7,000 in cash prizes, both in the People's Choice category and in artistic merit, which is adjudicated by a jury of peers. All of the sculptures are available for sale or lease, a program which has proved very popular, which I'll touch upon in a bit. And we pay a $1,000 honorarium to each artist, along with covering the majority of their travel and accommodation for the opening weekend. In terms of revenues, City of Castlegar is really our major funder. And they've been kind of increasing their support each year, which has been amazing for us. We also get grants through the Columbia Basin Trust Resident Directed Program, both from Castlegar itself and the surrounding regions. We apply for grants every year through the Columbia Kootenai Cultural Alliance. That can be for equipment or additional programs like our Night of Fire. Any kind of federal provincial grant that is going, we usually apply for, although usually it's not operational, and BC Gaming as well. Now, also a big source of our revenue is business sponsorship. So businesses can sponsor a sculpture from anywhere between $1,300 to about $2,500 annually. Now, what that gives them is their name engraved on the plaque. In our brochure on the website, we have various other perks like t-shirts and posters and invitations to our opening gala. But again, that's been really amazing. And we have about $30,000 a year in business sponsorships each year. So that's kind of grown up, again, with the revenues of that. And we have a really a solid core base from that. And also sales and leases are a big revenue source for that. Now, local businesses approach us and they often like to lease a sculpture. So we have many businesses in Castlegar and also in different regions, which again, I'll talk about in a bit, which lease pieces from us, and often those do lead to a sale. We take 30% commission on all of those, and that just goes right back into our general operating budget, and the rest goes directly to the artist, which is really, it's vital for their livelihood, and just to keep the program going as well. I'm sorry, I like at the tail end of a cold and my voice is so grody. Anyway. Okay, in terms of our regional partnership program, this kicked off about 10 years ago and has been thriving ever since. So municipalities annually lease and purchase pieces from us. These include Nelson, Rossland, Caslow, Nakusp, Creston, Penticton, and the Trail Arts Council actually purchased a piece from us last year as well. So these partnerships are important to us for so many reasons. The revenues support the artists and their work and directly roll into our general operating budget. The sculptures beautify the region. Collaboration in the creative sector benefits us all, and there's an economic benefit to our partner municipalities as we direct our thousands of visitors each year to enjoy the sculptures in our regional sculpture tour, which is publicized on our Sculpture Walk website. Participation is easy. Municipalities pick out which sculptures they would like to lease. We ask that you have a couple in reserve, as a sale always trumps a lease. And then in May of each year, we deliver them to the city, and if needed, we can install them as well. Some cities like to install them on their own, other cities, we do it for them. And if the cities are doing it themselves, we usually walk through it with them for the first couple of years, just to make sure that everybody knows what they're doing. You would also need cement or stone bases with embedded steel to enable the routes. Now, lease prices are really reasonable. They're anywhere between kind of $1,500 and $4,000 a year, depending on the piece. We do ask the leasees to cover the insurance, and generally it is the city itself that does this, although in certain cases it is the Arts Council. Now, the benefits to a program like this are huge. In Sculpture Walk's case, prior to our program starting, there were just 2 pieces of public art in Castlegar. Now, if you count like the program and also the ones that are being purchased and leased in the city, we have over 70, which is a 3,000% increase, so not too shabby. And we also have the trademark of the Sculpture Capital of Canada. Now, our program is the #1 rated and most reviewed Castlegar attraction on TripAdvisor, and in the top 10% of all attractions in the Kootenay Rockies region. We're expecting to see more visitors this year as Canadians are looking to travel closer to home. And of course, the beauty of our program is that we get repeat visitors each year. So basically our audience is building and building and building. In terms of the benefit to trails, sculptures beautify the downtown, adding visual interest. They can also act as a pathway to draw people to certain areas. You would find, as do all cities, that public art is hugely popular, and having new pieces each year definitely creates a buzz and draws people to come and see them. Of course, it is an economic driver as well. With people coming to see the art, they stop and have coffee or lunch, stop into the shops, etc. Additionally, growing tourism visitation, particularly as a highlight on our regional sculpture tour, brings tourist dollars, which are always welcome. In short, it's easy, affordable way to access public art. If you are to commission or purchase a piece outright, you're looking at the tens of thousands of dollars. And also the issue with that is sometimes you just don't end up liking a piece, you know, when you commission something. Whereas with this, you're seeing the art on the streets. And often again, if a piece is on the streets for a year and the city loves it and the population loves it, it ends up being purchased. So it's been really wonderful to see the collaboration of the regional municipalities throughout this region. And it would be really wonderful to bring trail into that. And just as a quick aside, one of our board members, Kirsten Stevenson, is a trail resident and a tech employee, and our administrative coordinator, Celine McAlpine, is from Fruitvale. So, and I live in Nelson, so a little bit of a regional organization as it is. But that's basically my spiel on kind of sales and leasing, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. I don't know if council has any questions for Sarah. I know that I have quite often gone out there and gotten a cup of coffee and just walked the streets to look at all the different sculptures. So, I mean, you're right, it is an economic development, you know, bringing people into your community. It's a great idea. Yeah, and it changes, they change every year, don't they?
Yeah, it does.
Most
So
of
basically, the sculptures that are up now that you see in the program, we'll be taking those down early May. So pretty quickly.
Mhm.
So if anybody is interested in leasing a piece, kind of now is the time. Some of these are obviously spoken for. We have them going off to our regional partners right now, to Nelson and Rossland. And then our new ones go up in May. So basically, it's kind of a May to May leasing program.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, well, thank you for coming tonight, that was very informative.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And apologies for my croaky voice. I need to go have another cup of tea.
So do you wanna leave the guides here for us?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
just keep them. Great, thank you
Thank you very
everybody,
much.
and feel free to email me if you have any questions. I'm just joy@castlegarsculturewalk.com.
Okay.
Thanks.
Enjoy. Okay, we're going to move on to our public consultation and question period on the 2025-2029 financial plan and the 2025 budget. Mr. McClure, our Chief Administrative Officer, is here to provide an overview of the draft financial plan to date, and then we'll allow for some questions from the public. And go ahead. Oh,
I don't know if I'm in the right place. I'm here for the meeting on the rezoning of bylaw on Second Avenue.
oh yes, we've already done that public hearing.
Well, I was supposed to be on today at 6
Yes,
o'clock.
we just did that at 6 o'clock tonight.
Wasn't aware of that.
It concluded at 6:07. We did not have anybody here to speak to it. So we went through the agenda and it was concluded at 6:07 because nobody showed up at 6 o'clock.
So is it moved to another date?
No, the way it works is we have a public hearing. The public hearing has been concluded.
Yeah.
Because the opportunity was presented. And then later on tonight, council will be considering moving the bylaw forward.
Which means,
Well, tonight they could do third reading and adoption of the bylaw and allow for the short-term rental.
is it a motel?
No, it's not
No.
a hotel. It's a house.
Well, it's just kind of very rushed. I didn't realize it was passed already, or not.
It hasn't passed, but the
Well-
public hearing has been held.
Yeah.
But they start precisely at 6 o'clock.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I was gonna go to the front podium, but I don't think that, I have to go to share my screen kind of thing. but
Oh,
We have one person that decided to attend, and I didn't pay her to come. It's super kind of you.
Checks in the mail.
Well, I think she's just trying to avoid her children. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not.
We do have 3 attendees by Zoom.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't want to think that Councillor Cashwell's, quest to bring people failed at all, right? So his videos are usually pretty good. Anyway, I made a quick update just from today's town meeting, so we'll get there. But I just wanted you to know that's why I decided to put these. I thought we also might get some actual people from the public here. I truly did.
1 year.
But the next time we'll say it's 15, I guess. That's what we'll do.
We are down to 2.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. It is a few slides here, council, and I appreciate your patience. I know that you've seen much of this already many times before, but this will be on YouTube. And if people have questions, we'll be able to look forward to. So here tonight, just sort of on that public presentation piece, again, obviously there's a hope that the news stories that are out there, the videos that people are doing to try to promote and get the community interested in what's happening at City Hall as far as it relates to our budget, our annual budget process. So I'm gonna go through that, and if there's any questions, please just feel free to hang up. First thing, just agenda, the quick introduction, I'll talk about the process. You guys are tired of the quick facts, but I'll go over it again. I'll go over, we should say the 2025 budget review. But then go through taxation, operating, and capital and debt, and if there's any questions. So in the financial planning process, you've seen a few of these, it's PowerPoint presentation slides, with the different arrows into the spots. Last time we talked about the council debated the proposed tax rate. Tonight is the total consultation component. Number one of the things that I think is super important for the community to know is that the council back in November was successful on getting their strategic priorities in place. This is a guiding document. Council met for 2 days and went over what they saw in the community. They had communications with council, we had a facilitator. This is a mandatory document that really is important for councils to create, and it's also really important for staff, because out of this document, this is where you should start seeing your financial plan, and over 5 years, you should see items in the budget. If you're saying that you're going to do something, well, let's see a budget item there to fund it. And so this is a key component of what council wants to get accomplished in their term. Most cases, this is done right at the very beginning. We had our own challenges and we got ours a little bit late, but I think nonetheless, we're in great shape. Again, there's a nice message here from council. They want the priorities reflect our collective commitment to growth, inclusivity, respect for the community's rich history. Together, we are building a resilient, welcoming trail that respects our past and embraces our dynamic future. So again, real clear, as council, the elected officials, they want to move forward on the united belief that by working together, we will build a strong city. A city that is strong, adaptable place where everyone feels that they belong. This is just the beginning of our journey. And with the continued support of the community, we are confident that the future of Trail is bright. Again, one of the things that council worked on was the mission statement. And so on that particular piece there, which is, I'll read it out, to say the City of Trail fosters an optimistic, sustainable, and inclusive community by upholding good governance, transparency, and accountability. We provide efficient and accessible services to enhance the quality of life for all residents. By responsibly stewarding city assets, we maintain and improve our infrastructure and natural resources for future generations. Our mission is to encourage economic growth, promote social well-being, and ensure environmental sustainability, keeping Trail a thriving, healthy, and resilient place to live, work, and play. Now, one key component of even doing strategic priorities is that the city still functions. We have core services. So council always has to balance the fact that we've got core services which take up the lion's share of the budget funding and the activities for staff. Strategic priorities are, here's the important things that we need or we want to see done in our term to get the City of Trail to a certain standard or to make opportunities for the future. But again, just reiterating, this particular statement is important for the community is the strategic priorities outlined in this report focus on significant new initiatives the council has determined are high priorities for the remainder of the council term. However, it is recognized that and acknowledged that the vast majority of the city's resources are devoted not to new initiatives, but to the delivery of core services by our staff in public works, parks and recreation, administration, engineering, finance, protective services, and IT. The city staff ensure the efficient operations of the ongoing critical services like water, roads, sewer, and parks, and recreation that keep our community a wonderful place to live and do business. So I'm not going to go through these in length, but you can see the list here and kind of the time frame. So the goal here is to say, where are we at? Some of these will bleed from 2024 to 2025, and some of them won't start till 2025 and then come to 2026. OCP, we're in the middle of doing that. Accessibility plan also in progress. We've got downtown parking review, and a pretty key one for the community is the redevelopment. And first of all, the first stage is to do the demolition of the buildings, but of 900 Spokane. And 901 Helena Street. But not only just to demolish the buildings, we want to get started on the initiate the planning for revitalization of that block. On good governance, we are ongoing review and update bylaws and policies. Current year, we plan to do an upgrade on the website. We are looking at our fleet master plan. We've also continue on with our staff succession and recruiting planning. And one key one that the city is working towards is getting our asset management up to standard. Some of the regional partnerships and connectivity, airport master plan update, that is out for RFP right now, so hopefully we'll get a great submission there, and we'll be on seeing what the airport looks like for the future. We have some pretty major improvements expected at Belleville Road. Current year is to be the planning and design phase, and we'll see what results that provides council and the kind of funding that will be required in the future. Parks and Rec, so many facilities here, Trev, so not surprising. We've got a big list under this particular section. Negotiations of the new TRP agreements, I think we'll see, we've commented that we were successful with bringing Roslyn, City of Roslyn in. They've now submitted or agreed to a 2-year commitment going forward. We know that the other ones with Feeder Valley and Warfield continue, so we'll be working on those and really hoping to get the last area to come and join us as well. Under major donation from the Murphy Foundation, we are going to upgrade the ice and the wards this year. We also are completing this phase 2 of the TMC heat recovery project, which will see the heat that is used in the particular plant and only plant being used back into the building to help function and improve the air quality and the heat usage throughout the whole entire building. We're excited about that there's both provincial and Canadian Little League events, and that's something that we're starting to work with the Trail Facility Baseball. Again, another major sporting event coming in the BC Winter Games. The preparations are underway, and we'll have at the end of this year, beginning of 2026. We've got some proposing for some enhanced Indigenous permanent exhibit at our museum. We also know that Trail is going to be 125 years in 2026, but now's the time to start working on that, so we're prepared. We also have some renovations to be done at the sports hall. Not also surprising, infrastructure. A lot of times you don't see it's on the ground, but it is expensive to repair. And when you're 125 years old, there's a lot of it to repair, and it tends to be infrastructure that's been in the ground for a long time. So upgrading it is important, but it takes time and it takes money. One of the first steps we're looking at is completing the water master plan update. That'll help us with determining what are the priorities for that utility. Charles Lake, we are planning on doing the planning and design phase here over the next couple of years with the plan and then start the construction of that major project in 2026. There's some storm upgrades planning design in 2025. We have some shavers, bench and water main upgrades planning and design in 2025. And then the water main upgrade itself is supposed to follow in 2026. We have our water treatment plant, the chlorination settling tank, designing. To figure out how and where to put that particular module on that site plan. Not easy site plan with it dropping down into the river. One of the big things that's been important is the trenchless sewer lining, the new technology being that we can cure this in place. And so you basically can find a way between 2 manholes, and as long as it's not broken down or collapsed, that you're able to reseal that, so you keep the space as long as the hollow is still there. We go through, we cut any roots out, and then they reline it. It makes it almost like new without having to tear out all of the pavement or replace all of the dirt that would be along with that. So the 2025 year is that we were doing a lot of point repairs. So they can go in and done the camera work, and they can see areas where the sewer has either collapsed or it's not wide enough to pick up that repairs. Then we will go in 2026 and we'll do a major realigning. We know that safety is important for the community, and council was directing staff to continue an upgrading and an expansion of our CCTV program here in the downtown area. We also know that the covered stairs and rock wall assessments are important because these are unique assets for the city, and we want to make sure that we are using the ones or upgrading ones that are being used, and we're also assessing to make sure that we can get ahead of doing any repairs before they get to a place where repairs are far more expensive, or even if they fall down. One of the major projects that we do have in the books that we'll be reviewing over the next little while as we deal with some other budget pressures is the Dewey Avenue underground parking construction phase, we've got some foundation work, we've got water, sewer, and storm infrastructure to upgrade there. So those are strategic priorities for council, so that's a lot, but it does allow council, staff to come back or to present and to report on how we're doing. So it is an important document for staff, especially when we have staff reports, and as we work up through the year, asking ourselves, does this fit with what the strategic priorities that council gave us? It's over and above our general core service. Some of the principles that council has given staff on building this budget, that they really support the delivery of municipal services. Council is not interested in contracting. We want to maintain our service levels at 2024 levels. We want to obviously, wherever we can, reduce the cost of service while minimizing service impacts. We look to the opportunity to generate new revenue. Trail is definitely a very entrepreneurial community. It's one of the things that we're seeing some benefits, which we'll talk about in the 2024 year end, but it is also something that hurt us during COVID when everything was shut down. All that revenue that you usually been used to getting ceased for a number of months and a period of time. It just really shows you the fact we're seeing the benefit of it now, but we also saw the other leveraging of that when we lost that opportunity. Obviously, they want to minimize the tax rate increase. Long-term planning is a focus. They want to continue with upgrading our infrastructure. A lot of times that can be left, it is expensive, and it is underground, so sort of out of sight, out of mind, but it's important for this council, it's made it clear, if you want to make sure that we're getting our asset management, prioritizing and replacing infrastructure that needs to be done. Obviously, we're trying to also implement sustainability principles. Okay, quick facts. Council, you've heard this, so you can tune out for a bit. But city revenues were close to 31 million. That's all of our revenues in 2024. But the total operational expenses were only 16.6 million. That's a big gap. But that gap goes, the revenue over expenses go to pay down our debt, which we have quite a significant amount of debt, but again, borrowed at a good time and at good rates. Other remaining surpluses on that end go into our capital and operational reserves. General fund operational expenses and allocations is a budget of 21 million in expenses, funded about 16.5 million in taxation. So only a 1.3 to 1 ratio, which is actually quite good. You have the ability to deal with your inflationary costs with almost just over a 1.25 to 1 ratio, which is stronger than most communities. 1% increase in taxation produces about $159,000 to cover operational expenditures. We have about 69 regular full-time employees. We have a number of 39 part-time employees, remembering that the majority of that is aquatic staff, young staff, usually they come work for us in the pool, even as their work living out there between university and being at home or just in high school getting ready to go to university. So one of the budget review for 2025, one of the highlights that is really helping us in the current year is that there's been a great improvement in the Carroll Memorial Center, the Trail Aquatic and Leisure Center, and airport revenues are helping us put pressure on our tax increases. Staff have proposed a 3% tax increase for 2025. I will announce early that council has directed staff that they would like to see a 3.5% increase. So concerned about the cost pressure that is happening in this current year, specifically from the RDKB, cost pressure on the increase of taxation component requisition for city and trail residents and businesses. And this is a key factor in the determination of wanting to make this easier on city of trail residents and community businesses. Council has already previously approved some increases in the utility rates. Those were done back in late November, December. The reason why is because those rates need to be set so that we can send out the utility bills in early January in time enough to give the community and residents time to get in, pay that, to incur the discount. 10% increase in water is the one area that the city, as we go forward, is a point of pressure for utility rates. We do not currently collect enough revenue to offset the cost of operations. We do have a major water treatment plant. It pops up from the Columbia and then distributes out. We also have the Bear Creek well, great water sources, but the fact that you're pumping up out of the creek, out of the river, and then having to distribute that, it's expensive. And so operations of a facility, it's well running, but if you don't have rates set to be higher than what the operational cost is, you have no money for the infrastructure upgrades. And that's something that this council has been willing over the last number of years to increase those rates. We have a number of bigger increases proposed for the next number of years, with the hope that they would drop down quite a bit and sort of level off. But we need to get the rates up to be able to afford the infrastructure repairs that we need to do. The sewer utilities are much healthier shape, and that's why you'll see a smaller increase, 3% in 2025, which is about $8 for a single family. The one thing that council did do was, as the RDKB has now taken on the collection of organics, recycling and garbage, that we removed any reserve recovery fee from the utility bill. In 2024, there was a utility fee of $25 that was basically the portion of funding that we needed to do these fall spring cleanup. Council asked to remove that and apply our tax increase, which was to be able to assist with the cost of taking care of the fall and winter, and spring cleanup. Pretty major capital budget again this year. Almost $15 million in the operating fund. Been smaller, both water capital and sewer capital. We'll see progress on all of that in a bit more detail in the end of the year. So one of the major highlights here, city was able to acquire Manager Spokane with the plan here to demolish it, and it's the start of the major revitalization of downtown Toronto. One major completion for us was the garbage missing link. Really ties that up. There's a nice little viewing area there now. Flowers, some beautiful areas of those at the end of the presentation here. It shows the view, it's fantastic. And the other component, major capital last year is the Dam Street project. Well. Another success for the community was the temporary housing shelter that was relocated to Riverside Avenue, proposed 25 beds. It certainly assisted in helping the homelessness situation in downtown as well. Those individuals that truly needed a place to take care of. Be taken care of. There's medical services there. There's counseling. It's been a very good success for the community. We've had very positive revenue results from our user enterprise center. We feel like there's a direct correlation with the fact that council was able to enter into a partnership with the city of Roslyn to remove them from bring them into the TRP program so they pay the same rates that city trail resident does, and we've seen some really good numbers there. We've been able to successfully fill many of the previously vacated positions. Our team is just getting stronger as they learn their roles. We had a really good year in 2024 as far as our interest income concerned. That was out of two things. One was a fortune that the interest rates stayed as high as they did for as long as they did. In the same way, we did look at our cash management processes and really did a much better job of making sure that we had funds into interest earning accounts sooner and longer than we have in the past. 2025 opportunities. We want to see the safe and successful demolition of 900 Spokane and Marijuana Arena, and allow the discussions, the dreaming to start on what can happen on that block. Already spoke about this a bit, but we've got due to $1 million USD donation to the Murphy Foundation. New arena ice surface and boards will be replaced. I believe, if I understand this correctly, is that it's 56 years old, so that's a long time, but now it's time for it. Another key component for 2025 is the completion of the 22-year-old OCP. We will never get to be 22 years old again next time because now the province is mandated that it has to be updated every 5. So a lot of work going on right now, a lot of opportunities for the committee, and then we'll be again out to the public to get feedback. But this is again another driving document, get the OCP, and then that flows into the new council comes in the term at the end of 2026. You'll have the OCP in place, you'll have previous strategic priorities, and then we'll build from there. That's really one of the driving factors for being successful as a council to make sure that things are prioritized before, likely don't change that much, but that you see those completed and then bring in the new ones within the council. Really hoping that we have a full complement of our RCMP offices in our community after a number of years of being significantly below capacity. One of the benefits of Pacific Coastal bringing in their new saw plane is that we have more seats, and we're seeing some success with that, and that's supposed to continue on for the year. We want to finish off the heat recovery project at the TMC. We talked about, we've got BC Games coming, but also the provincial and national Little League baseball championships. And the real goal for me is to bring in the last area inside the tier. So the challenges that we have, we want to work with the community and our neighbors in the Spokane and area. As those buildings are being demolished, we want to make it safe, but also minimize wherever possible the disruption of those businesses try to operate. We continue, it's great that we've had success, the city has had success with the homeless shelter, but it is still temporary. We need to find a permanent location, so we need to work on that. You're seeing significant cost pressures in the community from ongoing tax requisitions, increases from RDKB. We know and should have expected a large increase in trying to get a brand new state-of-the-art Sioux True plant up and running. That's just something that needs to be done. We did get a significant portion of that. It was a grant, however, it did get caught up in the inflationary boost there over the last couple of years. So that's what's causing this increase in demand for tax requisition. The majority of it is to cover that cost. But now we'll be having much better treated water when it's released back into the river. Another component that's benefited over the last number of years is that interest rates have dropped significantly. With the tariff threat and all that's going on, there's an expectation that it could drop even another half basis point by the time we get to the end of the year. That's certainly going to put pressure on. We are seeing, and again, we talked about that at the Cal today, that we're seeing cost escalation from vendors bidding on large city projects due to the economic uncertainty and the concern of forecasted inflationary pressures. And we don't actually know all that could come out of the tariffs that are being threatened by our by the US, and what that means overall for our major employers in the area, and just for the regular businesses, and just for all of us that need our groceries. General fund results, the newly completed kids rink and with the new TMC facility revenue improvements that we've done, for example, in the Treasury room, we're seeing a lot of additional bookings, and this produced an extra $55,000 in revenue than we had budgeted. We did know that TAP was successful in their BC assessment appeal, and they were able to get a credit on their municipal taxes and about $170,000. The understaffing in RCMP certainly meant that the members that we have, that budget was under. But we really had a significant year of overtime costs, which actually put this, which in the past has provided a number of hundreds of thousands of dollars of surplus, was actually higher, was actually over budget by 175. So some of these cost pressures are being, are having eased by the fact that we had another low snow year in 2024, and that resulted in we'll keep our staff working the whole time, but not driving the equipment around snow and the sand and the cost of contractors to haul or downtown. That really dropped our snow budget. That wasn't, so that was one of the reasons why we're able to take on the fact that we've got some other cost pressures. Building permits were under budget, but our business license was over. Just to speak to how well things have gone at the Trail Aquatic Leisure Center, all the effort that staff management put into getting our depleted lifeguard pool back into place has really paid dividends. And you can see that by swimming lessons, aqua fit programs, memberships, and admissions over budget by $200,000. Staff were recommending a 4% average overall property tax increase. Since been council's making decisions there, follow that up a bit. Expecting RCMP close to full complement in 2025, so that also puts some pressure on our budget. The city of Roslyn has agreed to extend its security for 2 more years, and that from 100 to 130,000, so we get some additional revenues there. Talked about the revenue improvements helping us with the budget pressure. Talked about interest. We do have in the 2025 budget numbers, we have a half year for a manager appointment planning and climate action, using the TAF, because we know that by the time we hire someone, it's likely going to be about summertime. There is budget into the future years for that being a full-time role. I think that this would be a key component of making trail open for business for those that want to develop with us, but also taking into consideration the sustainability desires of the community and council, and making sure that we're doing our part where we can to be efficient and find cost savings, as well as improve our GHG usage. We have some remaining provincial COVID funding, and we are going to use $200,000 this current year to assist with some IT projects and also to work on some succession planning. We have continued to have $100,000 each year going into the operating capital in 2025 and onwards, so that's just ongoing increase, so that we know that the cost of operating capital is not going down, it's going up. This was just a document for the community and for others, just to see that the city of Trail has done very well, I believe, over the last number of years. A lot of its other communities have some significant increases to their taxes, and we're proud of how we're managing within our means here at Trail. And one factor I will notice is that the police costs not only pressure on our current year, but this is a number of the communities throughout this list. One of the main drivers for having an increase was the fact that the police costs were going up. Again, for those that are watching online, or just if you watch this video, one of the things that can be really important for a homeowner to know is that if their assessed value went up a lot, or the average went up a lot, that isn't a direct result now of a huge cash inflow for the city's taxes. It's not the way it works. Process is such though that we adjust the taxation rate to account for the fact that there's an increase in the assessed value to make sure that we're collecting the same amount of taxes than we were in the previous year. And then if there's an increase, it's on that new tax rate. Again, if you've had a lower than average change in your property value, you can expect a lower than average tax increase. If your increase in your assessed value is average, you should expect the average rate of the tax increase is. However, if your property is increased significantly or higher than the average, then you can expect that your taxes will be higher than what the set increase is for all of the classes of taxes. When we look at what's the tax effect here in 2025, we'll note that last year, after a number of years of really increasing, we were flat, we were down a little bit. This year, the average increase is 6.16 in residential, almost 5% in utilities, almost 8% in major industry, almost 16% in light, almost 8% in business. The forest is pretty small, hasn't changed much, and also another increase of 5.84 for the nonprofit sector, other assessed values. Now again, if council just applied the same rate, yes, you can see where you have a significant increase in your taxes just by the fact that you change, the fact that these properties increase, but that's not what we do. Okay, just a visual graph kind of showing you, not quite a hockey stick, but it was heading that way, and then we had a bit of a blip and then it started to head back out again. And I know that it can be difficult for Trail residents that you know, the ongoing cash flow request of taxes, or it's the costs of groceries. And one thing you can say here is if you look at your properties, in 2019, basically most properties have doubled. So you have real equity if you purchased or owned your home for a long time. So the budget document originally had the average single-family dwelling, which this year is $406,000. You can see that the proposed effect at that time was a 4% increase. We have given increased this on the property taxes by about $41. We paid off the factory truck, and that's why our property tax debt has dropped in 2025. You see that we've got the water rates and sewer rates. We are talking about those, and then the breakup of resource recovery, because that's what rolled into property taxes. So before the county meeting today, this is what I propose seeing for the average home, about $63 increase over 2024. But after our county meeting, council is looking at a 3.5% tax increase,
And that is resulting in a $35 net change year over year. Again, if you go through the other numbers did not change, so you see that we're at an increase right now. If things all stay together, that we would be at $57 for the average home for the year. This is just the city of Trail performance that we need to control, so property taxes, our debt, the water and sewer rates, and our garbage rates. You can see, so that's about $475 a month increase for the average single. And this is a slide that we had in here to really show the effect of some of the taxes that we know. We are expecting or getting information on some of the other taxes that we collect on behalf of. For example, we collect on behalf of hospital and school and BC assessment. School taxes, we don't usually get the rates until the very last couple of days of April, so we don't have that as an ability to show what change there may be. Under the previous, before 5 hours ago, we again would have had 4% or $41 change in an average home. One of the major factors was the 2025 taxes. We talked about that. It's almost a 33% increase, and that main driver there, of course, is the sewage treatment plant upgrade and needing to increase the tax requisitions on all business classes, all classes, to be able to fund that increase. But the other part that was kind of left over is the tax recovery from the 2023 tax holiday that was created from a miscalculation. And in proposing that getting recovered in 2025, that would have hit the average home with a cost of $89. So you can see that that was a pretty significant increase of just these taxes here, about 379 homes. But after the county meeting today, council has decided on two things. One, to look at a 3.5% tax increase. So you've seen that net change drop by about $6. These are except their taxes, but 2.4 or 33% increase is still there. But the other component that council decided to do was to write off $330,000 of the $630,000 of the RDB 2023 RDK tax recovery, which dropped that average single family rent from $89 down $47 to $41. So that's a significant drop. So note that there is some increases there, but it's certainly lower than what was being proposed just earlier today. And talk about taxes, and this sort of talks about kind of three tax dollars to the revenues that we have, and you can kind of see that in this pie chart where as much as we work hard, we can only have so many people rent the ice, we only have so many people coming to the poll, so we are limited on our sales of services. Again, we always want to look for grants, but that's not a guarantee. So the main driver for taxes for all communities is going to be taxation. Maybe City of Trail being a benefit of having a bit more entrepreneurial spirit, having your own airport, having these here facilities that they can charge fees for. You can see that our total revenues for including water and sewer fees were at over $30 million. Trails expenses, and you can see this breakdown here. Parks and Rec really does take a major part. So once you get to earn some money from it, it is a very expensive operation. So we have beautiful parks here in Trail, fantastic facilities for so many sports. It's unbelievable. The amount of baseball, soccer, hockey. We have a gymnasium, pickleball exploding. So that shows, and it shows with the fact that 31% of your budget is going towards Parks and Rec. Again, one of the things I would be proud of as well is that our interest in debt charges is only about 3%. So it's going to be more money to be able to do that. Skywalk Ridge, or we're looking at Point Riverfront Center, it's not a major pressure on the overall operations. Again, one of the components we kind of share, so if you look at the general municipal fund taxation, you see where that driver is, the 16 million, you can see how it's broken down, residential, utility components, major industry, business, etc. And when you looked at the average family dwelling, and the reason I've kept this up here is more for a visual chart. This will change once we get the steel tax numbers. This is from 2024 because I don't have some of the numbers yet, so we can't update that. That will get updated, but you can see where the city of Trail fits in that pie. That will change pretty significantly in 2024 because of that major increase in RDKB taxes. I thought I would bring this in here just so that council could be aware in looking at the numbers. And even when we look at a 3.5% tax increase, that does bring in significant dollars for the city. But even if you were to take out the East End Regional Sewer Services, you can see that $320,000 increase from all the other services that were part of RDKB in 2025. So that's, I know that we share those services, but those are significant cost pressures that we're facing. Let alone when you get kind of that one-time hit with the East End Regional Sewer Services. And when I looked at 2024, basically what we use to fund our total operations, this is our sharing portion of the regional district. This is what the increase in 2024. So 5.65 in 2024, and then an additional 1.8 in 2025. They have more increases for some of those services in 2026 and 2027. This is going to be, as much as the city is really working hard to live in our means, this is one of the challenges that our regional rep faces. And as a whole, certainly when we're keeping within line, trying to be around inflation rate or in that level, some of these cost pressures, that's quite difficult. So that's operations, high level. And I was just going to move some of the capital. We talk about sometimes taking councils on tours, and you hear about things, but maybe you don't get to see it. I wanted to share a few photos of some of the finished product in the area. So this is the Daniel Street retaining wall and infrastructure upgrade. You can see the new kind of off-street parking there, but then also the storm sewers collecting the water. It is on this West Trail. We are always trying to make sure that we can keep that water collected before it spills over to the next property and be able to have a storm in there. You can see the, I think it looks pretty good. I realize it's not a heritage wall, but the wall itself, using the concrete blocks that we did, I think it looks quite nice. And it's provided additional parking and curbing for those that live down below as well. There's a snapshot there. Again, allows the community as well to know where the tax dollars are going and the effort that was put in. Garbage. Wish I could take the shot. I can't take the telephone pole, but definitely, just for me, was just sort of that time, the major part of the time, the walkway that goes right up to Archway, over the Columbia River Skywalk, the beautiful Skywalk Bridge, the little viewing platform that's at the end of the parking lot there, and then of course having a nice concrete sidewalk flow up and then have an accessible route now up onto the Esplanade. I want to thank our partner CDT. They provided $500,000 towards the finishing of this particular part of the project. So certainly I know that the community and council is grateful for that. We also bought some toys. We bought a nice new excavator. This is something that we haven't had, and it's allowing us to, this is a shot of Trail Creek, and us being able to pull the debris that comes down when we get to fresh out. So the last thing we want to do is have a blowout and have that pass. So it's great that we've got a piece of equipment now that can reach down and pull this material right out. In the past, sometimes we had to rent significant cost to have a piece of the city just in case. Daniel Street got a lot of love. You can see that beautiful new playground that got put in. It's fantastic. Hopefully getting well used by the kids. A couple other park type areas, we see that the Jason Bay signage is out in place, and we also see that the Queen Heat playground is completed. So 2025, again, some pretty major projects. We've got general capital assets almost 15 million. We have 2.6 going towards the floor replacement. This budget here is going to have to be updated, but at it's about 4.2 million to get to the phase 2 completed. We've got some electric pickup trucks to be purchased, a new electric aerial lift. new field mower and right on Trevor to be arriving any day soon, just in time to do the spring cutting, so that's great. You know that we've got a very important timeframe here to get the remediation and demolishment of both 901 Lena and 900 Spokane. It will be interesting to see what the landscape of that lot changes, to see that. Really hoping that we are going to get the unicorn daycare construction started here in 2025. We do have another playground in McBride to take here for the year. For our water, kind of a slower, quieter year than we've had. The water master plan update is a real driver, because I think that's important information for council to make sure they're making prioritized decision making on what is the capital improvements that we need to make. At the same time, we still have ongoing water treatment plant equipment, i.e. pumps that need to be dealt with at the water treatment plant. We also have a replacement of the Bear Creek well. And also just this engineering of replacing that major water line main that comes down Charles Lake Drive from the water treatment plant. Sewer, again, another kind of a quiet year. We've got some pump replacement at Winter Park Drive lift station. We've got some other work to be done on replacing portions of sewer main in Shears, that's Community Ave and Fifth Ave. And a reminder that we are also doing some point repair, so that in 2026 we're able to do a significant amount of sewer relining. This was one that kind of caught me, because I don't know if council had the ability to kind of see what was happening at the old Liquor Reservoir. You can see that it had a wooden beam and been there for many, many years. Here's what the reservoir looked like with no roof on it, and here's the new concrete. So those, probably something you drove by, you may have never noticed, but it kind of speaks to what the reservoir looks like and where our holding tanks are for kind of we spoke to some of these for 2025. We did not get some of the projects done in 2025, only just the water master plan update. That's on the priority for this year. And then our focus is on some smaller projects. They can complete the water master plan and working on those in the future. One of the things that council did do in reviewing the utility rate pressures on particularly the water fund was that we reallocated $100,000 in tax funding that was going to the sewer utility over to the water utility. And it's going into 2025 and ongoing. That will help us with the funding pressures. We are, with that work and some of the reallocation we talked about today of some operating surplus into the water fund, we're really starting to kind of squeeze that gap on being able to fund the capital projects into the future. One thing that is interesting, and when we get the water master plan that council needs to consider, is the fact that borrowing is not always bad. If the rates continue to drop, that could be something that council might consider to take some of the rate pressure off. Now you do pay a lot of interest income, but if you were doing fixes to things that benefit the community for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, having that spread out over a longer period of time can be a good decision. And like I said, with interest rates coming down a bit, could be something to consider. Same kind of comment on the sewer utility. We've got the public works department senior manager moving over. So several things that they get done. We did get the sewer line repaired in 2024, we had hoped. Talk about some of the other projects that we're planning to do. One of the things that's key is that in 2025, all the sewer debt will be paid off. So that's also important. That right now, that reserve and work that's being done there is in a healthy way. And we've got planned out, and then the council remember that the public also, we've got the documents that show that we're at 15-year plan. So it's a point repair, and then we've got relining, there's some other work, and then we're doing relining. So we're trying to get that consistency on making sure that we're increasing and improving the infrastructure in all the utilities. This was maybe a bit hard to read, but I just was trying to show especially at the time of in November, where the effect was happening with water and sewer. You can see the effects that were going on, some of the increases that were happening in certain areas. In particular, the bottom of the city of Treasury, you can see that just on the sewer from ATV or your average home, basically. But even with our proposed rate, you can see that we're not far in line. We're a little bit higher than the city of Nelson, a little bit lower than sort of higher also than city laws. And so those are, sometimes it's hard to also make fair comparisons, because some of them have meter rates, so they say you pay a flat rate, then they pay per, like each home has a meter, whereas in Trail, we have some businesses, I think it'd be a good idea to move towards all businesses being metered, so that we can figure out what that usage is, but it's a huge expense to put meters in every single. This is just a slide for debt and debt servicing. When you have major capital projects, maybe again, about the cost of doing that Sky Bridge, which is quite brilliant when I think about it. You do have one sewage treatment plant, take on the waste from 3 different communities, and then to use a beautiful bridge to get that product over the other side of the river. It's pretty ingenious in my opinion. But that's an area where, to put all that on the taxpayer must be very difficult. So the goal would pay that over time. And that's again, there's those major capital projects. And that's what that's achieved. Decision went to borrow versus using reserves or taxation. The NFA borrow rates have dropped, and the borrowing for long-term projects more attractive in the future. Does that last for a year or two? Time will tell. We still have about $11.5 million of long-term debt in the general fund. We'll note that we are paying down almost $1 million in principal every year. So you can kind of look at that and say you've got about 11 years left on this. So it's not too bad. The water fund has a bit of debt, but it's also paid off by 2028. It's not that far away. And of course, the sewer one, it's just over $150,000 to be paid off. And is there any questions? I've got my email address on there too, so that if it's out there, or watch it on YouTube, or always happy to discuss it. And don't wait until you get your tax numbers and you have questions. Now's the time to ask. And I do appreciate Councillor Cashel for putting in the effort to try to drum up some interest in attending. But it's one of the tough things. This is not the only time that I've sat in a very vacant room trying to spread budgets to the different entities that I've worked for. I know that the community is busy, they have jobs, they have families, they're trying to deal with the day to day. But we always want to make sure that we're open and available, not only the council, but staff as well, to answer any questions that they have. That's my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Is there any questions from council?
Go ahead, Councilor Butler. I'm always the one with the hand up first, so
You've
please.
been scribbling lots, so.
Oh, I'm just trying to get things sorted out in the old training, but you go ahead.
I guess mine's just quick. So mine's actually a comment, Your Worship, and you brought up the cost of RCMP tonight in your presentation, and it was something that was discussed sort of at the last budget meetings and as we've been going through. So I just wanted to make the comment that I had reached out to this sergeant here in Trail just to part of the protective services portfolio, and just wanted to get kind of an understanding of sort of how, where it's at and what thing, because it has been something that as long as I've served on council, it's one of those things that we've sort of been undernumbered, and and it was this, I wouldn't say a game, but it was just these numbers weren't always all there, right? And so I just, for my personal information anyways, and I don't think I'm sharing any trade secrets, but Sergeant Wasinowicz shared that you had reached out to the head accounting department for the RCMP in the province of BC, and so and in his words, to scrutinize the check a little bit, the bill, and see what we were paying for and if things could be saved, and he shared that you did find savings, and that you were also the first CAO probably in the history of City of Trail to do so. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Councillor Cashel, and then I'll get you, Councillor.
Please. Just because I have my hand up first, Your Worship. Go ahead, Councilor Benson.
Follow the chair.
Okay, well, thank you, Councilor Butler. You kind of touched on something that I was going to bring up, maybe not quite as eloquently or as well-rounded as what you said, but the budget, the RCMP budget is over by $175,000. My first question is there any language in the RCMP contract that addresses this issue of going over budget? And the reason why I'm asking that is that we're not the party responsible. The reason why we're over budget is because of understaffing, and that was on the RCMP. They didn't meet their contract. So what is the impact that this $175,000 is going to have on the citizens of Trail? And how are we going to pay for it?
So on that particular question, Councilor Cashel, it went back to me using the document of where they were assessing that we would end up. So that's in 2024. So they were saying, the way things are looking, that's what the cost of overtime was really the main driver in 2024. So we're already kind of paid for it. So we're kind of rounding out the current year and having a bit of a surplus. Inside all of that, we were able to cover that cost. So I was speaking to the fact that really the snow year has taken off some of that pressure. But otherwise, if you didn't, you would be saying, hey, now we've got not just not a surplus at all. In fact, we've got a deficit. We're eating into our surplus to cover that. That's not, and again, that's based on, I had to wait until August to get the final numbers because their years are not the same year as us. So, but I use the documents they provide us to be doing the estimates for the auditors, and that's where kind of the number landed.
So it's not money we owe, it's money we've already paid from the
And or have accrued based on what they feel is going to be the end cost of overtime for the City Trail.
But I guess what I'm getting at is there any guidelines, any boundaries put on the RCMP that tells them that, hey, you've reached budget, to put the brakes on and maybe consult with the CAO or consult with, it seemed like, what I guess what I'm getting at is they've kind of had the blank check and they just kind of ran with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say blank check, and I would also say that any surpluses that you've heard of had in the last number of years, because you haven't had a lot of numbers, that's probably increased your surplus a bit higher than you would have if it had the full numbers. Certainly certain mandates come down. I know that they're supposed to get new handguns. They've got new body vests coming, new armor coming. They've got the cost of the vehicles, right? These vehicles have had to run 24 hours a day. The cost of those that are not much now. And so when we talk about the cost of the police officer, they do sort of put everything in together, whether it's the insurance on the vehicle, the cost of the new vehicles, the new weaponry, the new armor, all of it kind of gets put in together. And I think that they're also seeing the inflationary costs that we all are, but that gets distributed out. And that's how they've got their budget. And then, as far as me saying no, it's a little bit hard. I know in the current year that there was sort of a quick session where they lost 3 individuals in a hurry, and what do? I need to have someone up here right away. It's not like they haven't, like, oh, this person's sick, this person's come back, and it's been gradual over the year. It was all of a sudden, it was the real pain pinch that we felt for a while there, where we lost a number of members that we were already kind of short, and then having to bring them overtime crew in. So that seems to have been the cost pressure. Certainly the expectation is that I think having very close to a full complement, and I know the sergeant in his media releases and saying you're gonna see a lot more, you're talking about, I think in the newspaper I saw, where he was being interviewed in regards to the stats. He said, you can expect an increase in our drug seizures because we've got our crew team back in order. So that's a big step from where we were. So the fact that they've got some crew members, I'm expecting that we will not have a overtime issue that we had last week. Now again, something could happen, God forbid, but that's sort of sometimes you get caught in that. And it's like for all of our budgets, we're moving along here, everything's fine. I think about 2 years ago, our water utility budget operations was significantly higher than it was this year. Why? Well, we had 17 water main breaks, just otherwise and different reasons. This year, I think it was, I don't want to say 4 or 5. So that's quite a drop. And so those sorts of things you're kind of always balancing, you don't know what's coming. But we monitor it, and like I said, the fact that the sergeant, I trust, I work with him, and he's available, we talk. I have building relationships with the head of finance and saying, these numbers aren't making sense to me, or I need more explanations. Eyes are on it. I think that having eyes on the budget make a big difference on how things get spent.
And just through the chair, I appreciate that you did, connect with RCP Finance. And I also, understand the trust that we have with Sergeant Sinovich, but you gotta remember, sergeants come and sergeants go. So we need to build protocols and policies and practices based on good practices, not on trust. And when we spoke back in the committee of the whole 2 weeks ago, you brought up the fact, and it was an estimate because I know our year-ends don't align with the RCMP, it was correct me if I'm wrong, $826,000 in overtime. Now, overtime is double time, and an RCMP officer makes about $55 an hour, so that's $110 an hour. Some of that time might be traveling from the island to here, could be a full day, $100 an hour, $110 an hour. So, and I'm not saying that we didn't need those resources, and I'm not questioning that part of it. What I'm questioning is we got the bill for $826,000, but we didn't get a breakdown of the bill. If I go to an auto repair shop and get an $800 bill, I want to see the parts. I want to see the labor. I want to see the breakdown. And I think as the customer here, we should be entitled to that breakdown. So I'd like to make a motion, if I could, that we ask the RCMP for a breakdown of that overtime budget. And it shouldn't be that difficult to do.
Yeah, and I do get something from that, because I raised the questions, then I started sort of getting a monthly snapshot of what the actual kind of overtime component was, and that's where you see this spike of it happening, they lost a number of members back at some time. So that was one of the factors that kind of shows me what's happening. And again, it was decreasing as we got to the end of December, and that for me coincides with them getting the members back on their feet and getting a full complement.
Yeah, but
Just to be clear, I don't think you need a motion on these, asking the questions, and like I said, it's one of the challenges of the province of BC, and again, I came from another municipality that had their own police force. And I was like, oh, it'll be great to have your own police force, because it's like, just hired 2 new officers, they were 22, cost, just being alone, for the average home in Nelson, just for police increases in 2025 was $90. Forget any of the other increases, which was a lot, coming still, it was just to do with police. And that's us trying to buy the vehicles, our own mechanics working on the vehicles. It's one of you think that it's gonna always be better somewhere else. It is a bit of a challenge, and for all these colleges that sign on with the problems having RCMP provide that services, it's like, here's the bill, you get the bill, pay the bill. So it's challenging for sure, but I think that maybe if we see what happens here in the next 6 months, we get the next couple of invoices and start to see, are we in line, are we tracking what they're budgeting and what's happening there. So that would be my
just through the chair, just for clarity, on this bill, you're saying we can expect a breakdown then of the expense and how it was?
I get a very high level bill, that is that they don't, in the same way that I wouldn't expect them. There is sort of a very long bill, but it's very difficult, and it's done on a global basis.
Because each member is assigned a correlator number, which assigns them to their post.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how many of those hours were actually in trail detachment on shift. And I think the taxpayer would like to know that as well. I think and I don't think we're asking for anything that we don't deserve. I mean, we're paying for this service. What are we getting? And then from that disclosure, which to me, it's compliant with transparency and accountability, it ties into our mission statement. Maybe there's lessons learned here as well. And I think it's not so much to be critical of the RCMP. I realize that they had to bring manpower in to keep us safe, and no one's gonna argue with that. But I still think we deserve to see exactly where that money went in terms of $826,000.
And again, just to be clear, that was their proposed meeting, because until it ends and they reconcile, that's.
But yeah, it might change. But you're saying that we can get some kind of a breakdown as to where the money was spent?
Let me go back and kind of find out what exactly they can get from.
Because that might also include the travel expenses, and may be including meals and accommodation, which is fine. They have to come here, they have to live. But that's why it's so important to know exactly how much of that money was actually giving us boots on the ground.
Fair enough, that's a good component. So you're talking just about the overtime, kind of breakdown of like.
Yeah, the 826,000, not the entire, just that portion. Thank you. all I have on that aspect. There might be some other questions that come up later. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Councillor Benson.
Thank you, through the chair. A couple of questions that I received from the public was around the manager of planning and climate action. I think there was some confusion that they would be managing they would be planning for the climate action for the community. I was hoping you could obviously give a bit more of an explanation and what they would be focused on and where the funding would.
Right, no, okay, yes, I appreciate you, when people feedback saying, what, we're gonna have our managers, we don't have a direct person, we don't have a planner on staff. And it's one of the things that we've seen over the last couple of years, where we've had some people wanting to, or individuals wanting to develop, we're seeing some of these other zoning challenges that came from the province sort of mandating that, and that was really done by basically the corporate officer, manager, of legislative services, who are both not planners, they both will admit they're not planners. They're great people, but they're not planners. And in saying that, being able to have them, to have someone look at what we've got for policies, someone that is a trained planner to come in and view that landscape, make sure that we are got the best practices on our zoning policies, that we are open for business, allowing developers to come in and know what's happening. And I personally believe that our fees are probably too low. So those are some of the things that you can look at. Now, not uncommon, the council also does that, to sort of bridge, is that a full-time position? Also try to be cognizant of the fact that we don't want to put pressure on our taxpayer. We're trying to. We did look at. We also have some climate action funding that we get from province, and drawing on some of that funding takes away the cost pressure of hiring a manager. And they usually are skilled, or we will be looking for someone that is skilled in being able to help us not only do the planning side, but look into areas where we can improve. And report out on what we're doing with our client, GHG reduction. And that's not just for city entity itself, but for the community. And that's one of the drivers. I know that the city did sign on to being net zero at a certain time frame. I can't tell you that I have something that says we're pointing in that direction. So that is something that we have committed to, as our previous councils committed us to. We've got the funding. Use the expertise, which tends to be those that work in that field tend to have a bit of an understanding of that role. And so I believe that they will help us. It will also help us, I believe, on applying for grants and having some of that climate action lens to it. Again, anytime we can get $300,000, $600,000, $900,000 grants, that takes pressure off of the taxpayers. So that's the plan here, and that's the goal. And I'm hoping that we'll see the fruit of that. It might take a year, but that's the goal.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Cashel.
Thank you, to the chair. Just more, well, first of all, thank you for reallocating the water fund, $330,000 to the 2023 tax recoveries, bringing that down. And I guess my question is there room for more monies out there in the operating world, in operation to bring it down even further?
Well, the time is really tight. You could, again, direct me very shortly to be able to do this, because I'm trying to get the audit and financial statements completed. So if you're trying to handle it this year, again, the only other component that council could do is say, we're gonna keep that on the books as a receivable, the remaining $300,000, and not deal with it in 2025, and see what happens at the end of this year, and see if you can cover that. That is an option, but that is definitely something that I need to know ASAP, because the tax rate is coming, it has to be approved in the next short period of time. And then once we set that, you can't change it. I can't change it after May 15th.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm encouraged by the fact that we're already moving it down from 630 to 300. But I'm just, and again, I think some of what was explained to me maybe in the COW, but I have to be told things more than once sometimes for it to sink in. We're looking at a $200,000 surplus in revenue with the talc. Now, would that kind of money could we use that money to go towards the tax recovery?
Yeah, so I apologize if I've confused you. I would say to you, in the same way that we had a $175,000 over budget in police that year, we have $200,000 over budget revenue side for town. But then when you combine everything together, that's where we came with those numbers today, saying
Okay.
projecting on a 720, and that's where.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. McGrath.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Is there any other questions or comments? Okay, just one quick comment from me. I just want to thank you, Mr. McClure, for such a detailed and thorough report. I know even when we're going through it, I forget some of the stuff that we've done, some of the work that we've done, and some of the accomplishments that we've had. And also I, recognize when it's all laid out like that, how much work we have ahead of us. And still, I appreciate the work that council's put into this budget, because we want to make sure that it's very accountable and we're being transparent. And it looks like and sounds like there's more conversations to be had on this, so thank you. So if council's ready, we will move on to the item number 13, and that's the council meeting minutes for approval. And we have two sets of minutes in front of you, and that is the regular council meeting for March the 24th, 2025, and the special council meeting of April 7th, 2025. Is there someone to make that motion? Thank you, Councillor Martin, and someone to second, Councillor Butler. All those in favor? That was carried, thank you. We do have some resolutions from the March 24th, 2025 committee of the whole meeting. And the first one is the resolution that the following items considered for information at the March 24th, 2025 committee of the whole meeting to be adopted, and that is a report on invoices paid for municipal services of February 2025. Thank you, Councillor Benson. Seconder, please, and Councillor Martin. All those in favor? Thank you. The next item is that council authorize staff to enter into agreement with Fitz and Bubbles for the operation of Gyro Park concession for the 2025-2026 seasons, with an option to renew in 2027. Thank you, Councillor Butler and Councillor Benson. All those in favor? That's carried. Resolution that council approved the award of the 2025-2027 asphalt road and gravel lane rehabilitation contract to Power Paving Limited in the total amount of $532,400 over the 3-year term exclusive of GST. Councillor Martin and Councillor Butler, all those in favor? Thank you. Next resolution is that council received a report bylaw enforcement to increase coverage dated March 24th, 2025 for information. Councillor Benson and Councillor Martin, all those in favor? That was carried, thank you. The next resolution is for council to direct staff to include the following expenses in the 2025 to 2029 financial plan. A creation of a manager of planning and climate action in the amount of $79,000 for year 2025, and that's for a partial year, and funding using $30,000 from the Climate Action Reserve. The Royal Canadian Legion commemorative sidewalk project in the amount of $4,000. Trail Historical Society increase to annual funding in the amount of $3,665. Funding for succession planning for the General Manager of Corporate Services and IT enhancements in the amount of $200,000 from the city's remaining COVID-19 funding. And further, that staff request information from the 3 economic development initiatives that received funding in 2024 that did not report on the outcomes from that funding. And further, that the LCC DTS Community Futures, South Kootenay, and the Trail and District Chamber of Commerce be invited to a workshop regarding economic development. Councillor Martin, thank you. Councillor Butler, any questions or comments on all of those? That's a list. Okay, all those in favor? That was carried, thank you. Councillor considered that the application for the West Kootenai Minor Softball Association for a cash grant in the amount of $2,500 in support of the Haley Park batting cage project be approved. Councillor Benson, Councillor Butler, all those in favor? That's carried, thank you. Resolution that the application for the Trail and District Arts Council for a cash grant in the amount of $2,500 and a rental waiver in the amount of $856.25 in support of the Music in the Park night markets be approved.
Did we change that?
Ms. Butler,
Your worship, this is just the one that I sent the email out, so I'll leave that to council to, other than approve or deny.
is there someone that wants to make that motion?
I'm trying to
Does
find,
this have to go on the floor first? Good for me.
Yeah, we have to put it on the floor first.
So,
Councillor Butler, thank you, and the seconder, Councillor Martin. Is there any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Can I make an amendment to the motion? That in light of the recent addition of the Trail and District Arts Council to our operating budget with a line item of $30,000 that the cash grant is removed from this motion, leaving the rental waiver, so just the rental waiver of $856.25.
Ms. Butler?
Your worship, if you don't mind, I would suggest that we do an amending motion that reads, that the Trail District Arts Council request for rental waiver be approved. And that would be the first amendment.
mhm.
And then the second motion would be that.
Oh,
the-
good denied.
Okay.
What she said,
Okay. All those in favor
I guess
of
that's my
the
motion.
amendment?
I make the
Of
motion.
the amendment.
Okay, okay. And all those in favor of the motion as amended? Motion as amended. Thank you, that was carried. Thank you for your help with that. Okay, so we have the resolutions from the April 14th committee, the whole meeting, to be considered for adoption, and I'm going to pass this to Ms. Butler, please, for the HVAC.
Yes, thank you. This is the resolution that we previously considered tonight in the committee of the whole meeting, and we're asking to bring it forward, just so that we can get going, in order to make sure the project is done on time. So the motion is that council approve award of the TMC heat recovery and rooftop replacement contract to Midwest Mechanical Limited with a base price of $4,015,220.58 plus all applicable taxes, fees, and charges. And further, that council authorize staff to enter into an agreement with Midwest Mechanical Limited for the provisions outlined in the invitation to tender 2025-5031-130 and return bid.
Councillor Cashel, is there a seconder, please? Councillor Martin. Any questions or comments before we go for the vote? Councillor Benson.
You know what my comment will be, but I just wanna say that the report that was given to us this afternoon, I thought was one of the most thorough reports I've seen, to a point where I feel quite comfortable voting on this tonight, so thank you.
Thanks, Council.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? That was carried, thank you. Okay, on to reports and meeting minutes of council committees. So we have the several meetings here from the council committees. And the resolution is that council adopt the following minutes and recommendations within the committee minutes. Is there anyone that would want to speak on their committee reports. Well, I can give a quick update on the official community plan committee meeting. It was another good meeting. We just, went through the policies again and made any language changes, and, it's a work in progress. We do have another meeting coming up fairly quickly. So we're getting close to the finish line, I guess, slowly but surely. So yeah, it's, I just want the community to know that we are still working on the official community plan. And that's my report, I guess, on that one. Is there anything from the Silver City Days?
I think the meeting minutes, nothing. It's gonna be amazing, obviously. We have our food vendors all ready to go. We have a couple of new ones this year. Just dogging it, a hot dog booth, so we're really looking forward to that. And we'll also have the Silver City Saloon, which will be outside the Bridgeview Cafe. It'll be a fundraiser for the Trail Little League, who are gonna be raising money for the upcoming provincials and Canadians that are gonna be here in the next few years. And Colin Mockery is coming to town for Hip-Prov, which is a mixture of improv and hypnosis. It'll be on the Saturday night of the of Silver City Days at the Charles Bailey Theatre. And if you don't know who Colin Mockery is, he's a Canadian comedian from the hit show Whose Line Is It Anyway? And Last Comic Laughing. And he's hilarious, so tickets are on sale.
Got my tickets.
They're going quick.
I know. When I got my ticket, there was 300 seats sold.
Over that now,
Yeah.
over 400 now.
Oh my goodness. And how many days left?
23, thank you for asking.
Thank you. Okay, I guess that the resolution is that council adopt the following minutes and recommendations within. Someone make that motion, please. Councilor Butler. Councilor Benson, all those in favor? Thank you, that was carried. Okay, so nothing from the community liaison reports. Councilor Benson?
Thank you, through the chair, just an update on the Trail Ambassador Program. Randy Wyatt, who was Miss Trail in 2022, will be representing Trail this summer at the BC Ambassador Pageant on the Vancouver Island. So
Thank you, Councilor Benson. Anyone else? Councilor Martin?
Thank you through the chair, that just as Ms. Benson Lord mentioned this afternoon, the Trail Historical Society is renewing their strategic plan, so that's a bit of a process which is taking place right now.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the Regional District of Kootenay Boundary Report. Councilor Martin?
Thank you through the chair. On Wednesday, March 26th, I attended an RDKB board meeting via Teams. The board endorsed the interim housing needs report. Board of Directors supported an application to the local community accessibility grant program for $25,000 to enable the RDKB to remove several barriers and accessibility and inclusivity at various regional district facilities as identified in the plan. The board approved an application for the Green Municipal Fund Community Building Retrofit Greenhouse Gas Reduction Pathway Feasibility Study and Grant. The board did adopt its 2025 to 2029 5-year financial plan. The following grants in aids were approved. Electoral Area A, Fruitvale Farmers Market, musicians of the Fruitvale East Market of $1,000. Beaver Valley Golf and Recreation Society, men's and ladies night for 2 years, $1,300. Electoral Area B, Lower Columbia Old Glory, Visions for Small Schools Society, a 2-day climbing trip, $1,300. Electoral Area C, Christina Lake Boundary, Helping Hands Feline Rescue Society, transportation of felines for $1,500. Christina Lake Community Association, concession upgrades at the ballpark, $3,018. Christina Lake Arts and Artesian Society Mushroom Festival, $15,000. Christina Gateway Community Development Association, and adding the Boundary country visitor guide of $262.50. Electoral area E, West Boundary, Boundary Helping Hands Feline Rescue Society, transportation of felines, $1,500. And Grand Forks Farmers Market, coupons for those in need, $2,000. And Trails to the Boundary, emergency preparedness fair, $1,800. On Wednesday, March 26th, I attended via Teams a West Kootenai Boundary Regional Hospital District meeting. Todd Listel, Interior Health Corporate Director of Business Operations, provided an update of the overall 2025 Interior Health capital funding request. The board passed 18 capital expenditure bylaws for 2025, which is equipment purchases for facilities within the hospital district. If anybody wants to know the list of equipment, please see me, I'll give it to you. On Wednesday, April 9th, there was another RKB board meeting via Teams, the Boundary Watershed Forum. We discussed the Boundary Watershed Forum, which is on May 1st and 2nd. The RKB's watershed planner discussed the Kettle River Watershed Management Plan and Advisory Council, and how the Boundary Watershed Forum, funded through the province through the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, would mimic their mandates to encourage public engagement and involvement. The forum is free for anyone to attend, however, registration is required. RDKB Recreation Facility staff will start the process of developing a policy to ban noisemakers from RDKB facilities for implementation by September of 2025. The board awarded a 3-year contract, May 1st, 2025 to April 30th, 2028. The expanded services associated with the commercial recycling program located at the Calvary Creek landfill to GFL Environmental Incorporated. Excuse me. The following CBT ready grants were approved: Electoral Area B, Lower Columbia Old Glory, $38,753.54. Beaver Valley, which includes Area A, Fruitville and Montrose, $121,633.76. City of Rossland, $59,050.29. City of Trail, $159,778. Village of Warfield, $45,615. This is a total of $424,830. The following grants names were approved: Electoral Area E, West Boundary Kettle Valley Golf Club, water conservation irrigation upgrade to hole number 3, $3,000. Boundary Community Partners Association, the BC Barrel Racers event in Rock Creek for $1,000. That's it for my report. If you have any questions, you can ask me later, because I'm gonna have to drink a water.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Okay, so while you're having a drink of water, we'll move on to other reports. There is an item for correspondence for information, and that is from the Trail Fair Society, the Community Connect Fair. I believe it's an invitation to council to attend. The resolution is council consider and resolve that the following correspondence be received for information. Thank you, Councilor Benson, seconder. Councilor Butler, thank you. All those in favor? That was carried. And the next item for action is a resolution that the request from Immunity Canada requesting to proclaim April 22nd to the 29th of 2025 as World Primary Immunodeficiency Week in the City of Trail be approved. Councilor Martin, thank you. Seconder, please. Councilor Bettison. All those in favor? Thank you. That is carried.
Just
Okay. On to my report. Oh,
Your
sorry,
Worship, if we could just circle back to the invite, just noting that most of council will not be in town that day, so unfortunately, as much as it'd be nice to attend, I don't think many of
Oh,
us.
you know what, I don't mind emailing them about
Yeah.
that, letting them know.
Thank you, Mayor
Yeah,
Jones.
most of us will be. Thank you for that. Okay, on to my report. Just wanted to report out that I did meet with Frankie Mateer, president of Suffolk College, and we just had a quick check-in on, again, the effects of insurance to students. BC colleges represent 10 public institutions across 50 communities in BC and training over 125,000 students annually in key sectors like the healthcare, construction, and technology. And there's a real concern that with the federal changes to the postgraduate work permit program really excludes college graduates from eligibility and pushing international students towards university in big cities. So we're losing a lot of those students out of rural BC. And so our workforce shortage is worsening because especially in rural areas where we don't have those students now, so we're missing out on healthcare and trades in rural BC. College grads face unfair treatment because of where they're coming from, and even despite the fact that they're filling, vital roles, we're still facing that unfair treatment. International student applications have dropped by 80 to 90%. Limiting the courses that they can offer to the students as well. And the college education is really being devalued in global stage. So it was a really good conversation, and the only thing I can suggest or recommend is that we really make an opportunity to speak to the Minister of Education when we go down to UBC. So she was really happy to hear that, and I'm going to meet with her again just to get more information to be able to provide to the minister when we go. April 1st, I attended the meeting with TCAP, and there is a new coordinator, and that's Mary Davies has been appointed as the new coordinator. And she has local experience with the mental health and substance use, and is happy to be in this new role. Part of the meeting was spent talking about some items that have been on the agenda for quite a while. Public washroom, shower access is a major need. Soup Sunday is now operating in a mobile format. They're going out to the people, and at the time of this meeting, they had 20 people that they have reached out to. They are doing an educational session. It's called the Tailgate Toolkit session with tech, planned for April 22nd to the 25th, and there is a community event for local 480 members on April 24th. There was student-led cannabis education in development at J. Crow. They just want to really make sure that students are educated on the use of cannabis. And really happy that the Kootenay Boundary Regional Hospital Foundation support for community mental health initiatives are being explored, and Interior Health Organizational update presented is being scheduled for May. And I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of the West Kootenay Homeless Response Summit, and that is April 29th and 30th at Selkirk College in Nelson. Quite a few meetings with the Association of Kootenay Boundary Local Government. The Convention Planning Committee, we're happy to report out that attendance is very, very well being received. We are almost at capacity, so it's kind of exciting that we have some really great speakers lined up. And I think the educational sessions are going to be very informative. I wanted to talk about also the resolutions committee that I sit on. We have been very busy. This convention, we have 41 resolutions from the membership, and that includes resolutions that were submitted by more than one local government and combined into a co-sponsored one. And that is an increase of 230% over resolutions over 2024, where they only had 81. And so because of this increase in the resolutions, we are hoping to cut down the speaking time on each resolution because it's really important to get through it before convention is over, because it just makes more work after. So our resolution that we put forward is one of the ones that is staying regional, which I'm actually really excited about, because I think we have a better opportunity of getting some work done on this resolution if it's regional. So I'm excited about it. It did go through the city of Nelson, the city of Trail, and the city of Castlegar. A few changes were made to it. You know what, I'm just gonna quickly read it out just so you, if you recognize the changes and don't think it's appropriate, you can let me know, but. So whereas individuals facing severe mental health and addiction challenges require comprehensive and coordinated care, and the current resources in southern BC are insufficient to meet the growing demand for detoxification, rehabilitation, and supportive housing, leading to inadequate treatment and forcing individuals to leave their home communities for essential services. And whereas communities in British Columbia have experienced a significant increase in the street population, leading to heightened concerns for public safety, community well-being, and the challenges associated with mental health, substance abuse, and public disorder, while current policing resources remain insufficient to effectively address these complex issues. Therefore, be it resolved that the provincial government be urged to increase funding and resources to expand and enhance detox and rehabilitation services across southeastern BC, establish initiatives that foster collaboration among local governments, government agencies, healthcare providers, nonprofit organizations, and community members to ensure effective coordination, resource allocation, and holistic support for individuals undergoing detox and rehabilitation. Develop a regional strategy to address homelessness by increasing funding for housing, shelter, and treatment services in including boundary region areas, and provide dedicated funding streams for local governments facing increased street population challenges, including direct grants through the Provincial Policing and Public Service or Public Safety Fund, additional allocations to the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Branch, and enhanced federal contributions under the Reaching Home program to support specialized policing units, mental health crisis response team, and community safety initiatives. So I think we hit just about everything that we should be talking about, so I'm, hoping that it's received really well at the conference. Did you guys notice any? Yes, go ahead.
Just apologies, I'm still new. What does it mean when you say that it's staying regional? What does that mean?
So it's, we will be probably convening a committee to work with this through the AKBLG. So it'll be the East and West Kootenays that'll be working together to keep it regional.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just one other thing. I did have the opportunity to sit at the provincial roundtable discussion for childcare. Now that the election is over, moving forward with the childcare spaces that are available, and it was most of the nonprofit childcare organizations in the area, Nelson, Roslyn, Trail, Beaver Valley was there. And so they are convening hopefully another one at the end of May. So this is the first one that I sat at. So it was quite interesting, and it was just basically getting to know each other that was around the table. The Border Mirrors Alliance, we're still meeting weekly, and that's a very confusing situation with the Trump tariffs and what's going on there, because as you can see the emails that I send, things are changing very quickly from the morning to the afternoon to the night. So I just try to keep you updated on the emails that I'm getting. Okay, and that's one report. Is there any questions or comments? Okay, let's move on. The next item on the agenda is bylaws for consideration. So the first one there, the bylaw number 2950, we are removing as per agenda. Bylaw 29 B, a bylaw to rezone the property at 1451 Second Avenue to allow for short-term rental accommodation.
Your worship, this is the one that we had a public hearing for tonight, so we're just looking for third reading and then a follow-up motion to adopt, if council is wanting to support that.
So the motion is that the zoning amendment bylaw number 2951, 2025 be read a third time, subject to the public hearing. Councilor Benson, thank you. Councilor Martin. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And the zoning amendment bylaw number 2951, 2025 be adopted. Councilor Butler, thank you. Councilor Martin, all those in favor? Thank you. And we have a zoning amendment bylaw number 2952, 2025 be read first and second time, and that was the short-term rental. Councilor Butler, thank you, and Councilor Martin. All those in favor? That was carried, thank you. Item number 23 is a notice of motion. Is there? No? Okay, seeing none. The next council meeting is April 28th, 2025. The committee of the
Do we
whole.
need to go back? Notice of motion? I'm sorry,
Do you want to go back?
I'm sorry, we need to ask if there's a mover or seconder onto that notice of motion?
But is there a notice of motion?
There were, yes, the notice of motion was presented April, the last council meeting. Oh.
Something stronger.
Sorry, Councilor Benson.
okay.
Okay, so we do have a notice of motion. And the notice of motion was submitted on the April 24th, 2025 meeting by Councilor Benson.
At the March 20,
No, it says April 14th.
that's today. So this is it's for being discussed tonight. So it was introduced at the last meeting, and tonight is the debate on that.
Okay. So that just needs to be changed on there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can follow up with that, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we can make that change. I'll just read out the motion, and the motion is whereas the demolition of 900 Spokane Street and 901 Helena Street is a critical initiative for advancing the city's infrastructure and fostering future growth. And whereas the project is expected to cause prolonged disruption to local businesses, and whereas the city has a responsibility to ensure the local businesses can continue to operate successfully during and after the project. And whereas the city has a vested interest in ensuring the long-term success and sustainability of its local businesses. And whereas effective communication and collaboration between the city, business owners, and community are essential for addressing concerns and finding solutions. Be it resolved that the City of Toronto establish a council select committee, including appropriate presentation from the city project representatives, downtown businesses, and the community for the 900 Spokane Street and 901 Helena Street project to support businesses affected by the construction. And further, that the motion number 97-23 from July 17th, 2023, which was passed unanimously to create a communications program specifically for issues in the downtown area be reprioritized and includes the 900 Spokane Street and 901 Helena Street project to ensure timely updates for downtown businesses and the community to address concerns promptly. Thank you, Councilor Benson and Councilor Martin. All those in favor?
Do we discuss it?
Discuss. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Benson.
So I just wanna advocate a bit for this. In my opinion, this project is like a generational project and it's crucial for our downtown. It's also arguably the largest project that our downtown has seen based on its size and the central location of it. And I really think we need to acknowledge the significant impact that the demolition and construction will have on downtown businesses. As I said in my notice of motion, these businesses, many of which are small and locally owned, contribute immensely to the character and economy of our city. And I believe it's our responsibility to support them during this challenging period. Additionally, we must recognize that the businesses directly affected by this construction are the same ones that were impacted by the location of the previous drop-in homeless shelter. And I think we need to do right by them and ensure that they receive the support that they deserve during this next period of disruption. I believe that by establishing a council select committee, we can ensure that there's appropriate representation from the city, downtown business, and the community to address concerns, find solutions, and support our local enterprises throughout the construction period. Reduced foot traffic, parking issues, noise disturbances, and potential financial losses are a real concern that can't be ignored. As for the motion, it was voted unanimously on in July of 2023, and to me, this unanimous vote reflects our collective agreement and commitment to the cause of ensuring timely updates and transparent communications with downtown businesses and visitors. And I wouldn't ask for this if I didn't think it was important. I appreciate how busy staff is, and I understand the challenges they face. However, for me, supporting this motion is not just an economic necessity, it's a testament to our commitment to the residents and entrepreneurs who make our city unique.
Thank you, Councilor Benson. Councilor Cashel.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. Thank you, Councilor Benson, for a very thoughtful, well-prepared motion. I guess my question on the motion is just, it's all about the timeline, because I look at this motion as dealing specifically with the demolition. And I had somebody in the construction field, when I asked the question, they said it could take like less than a week to demolish these buildings. So I guess my first question, if we can answer it tonight, is how long is the demolition going to be? And if it's only going to be for a week of significant impact, do we need a select committee to address the impact? And there will be negative impact, absolutely. Because then stage 2 is the empty lot stage, which I hope I'm wrong on this, but could be many months sitting there as an empty lot. Do we need a select committee while there's an empty lot? And then the third stage is going to be probably the most impactful, negatively impactful stage on a local business, and that's going to be the construction stage. And if we look at what's happening, I would say in Castlegar with Park Place, it's been 3 years. So I mean, where does the committee start? Where does it end? It's definitely, if we enact this, it's going to go beyond the scope of this term. So I guess that's my question, is just what's the what is the priority? Is it just on the demolition, or is it on all 3 stages? And is that committee going to be dead in the water at the end of this term and then reenacted? Is that how you're looking at this? Maybe somebody could just explain this to me, how it would work for the longevity of the whole project, taken in those 3 stages.
Is there anybody else? I was just reading the motion again.
In my mind, it was for the demo
Okay.
construction, it's just the fact that it was the demos on its way quicker, so.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, I agree with you, the construction phase is gonna be the longest, I would assume, I'm not really sure about that.
And that's what I was thinking too. By the time we strike up the committee, the building will be down. By the time we get the terms of reference and everything. So I'm wondering if we look at this differently and try to build a committee for the building part of it. I think the plan that we got from our communications director, it looks pretty good for the demolition part. I think that, we can get the information out there for the businesses. I think to be more effective, we have to strike that committee up for the building of the whatever's going there, the next phase. I feel the same way as you do. I think it's important to communicate with our small businesses and our business, bigger businesses down there. But not only that, the residents that live down there need to know what's going on, because you go into a small business, and I'm not gonna name the business, and I said, are you excited about Silver City Days coming? And they said, when's that? And so we're 3 weeks out from Silver City Days, and it's a new business, they don't realize that Silver City Days is coming. So, that's what I'm talking about, is that we need that kind of communication, I think, after the building is starting, have a council committee for that. That's my opinion. I understand totally what the reasoning for your motion, but I think we're too late for the demolition part. And I do like the plan that was sent to us, so.
Well, that was my question. Do we know when the demolition may take place? Potentially, I know it's not.
Yeah, we, for sure, it'll be after Silver City Days, so that would be mid-May would be the earliest it would start.
And any idea how long it might take? If you got any estimates on that?
I have not seen the decision on sort of full, like who's getting the project. Those are the things that we're working on right now, is the assessment of the RFPs that we receive. Coming soon.
So, Ms. Butler.
But through the chair, they do have to be finished by mid-September. September 19th is the date in the RFP. And speaking with our project manager, if the tenders are awarded to do 2 different companies, there is an expectation that they may come down at the same time instead of doing one and then the next one. And if that's the case, we could be looking at a 2-month time frame. So it's 2 to 4 months, 4 months being the maximum, 2 months probably being the quickest, starting towards the end of May, so.
And my next question is, do we have time then, if we take this motion, to put a select committee in place to address the demolition? Time is to me, a major concern here.
I would be concerned, I'm concerned about the timing, because by the time we reach out to the community, the small businesses, you probably want somebody from there on the committee and advertise for it. So what, 2 weeks minimum for that? Get the terms of reference. I mean, we're almost at the end of May. So I don't, I would be in favor of developing a committee to talk about, I remember when I was chair of the library board, and the library museum, it was just being built, and being on the library board and getting that information on a regular basis was really, really helpful, and to be able to put that input in. So I understand that striking a committee to be a part of the whole process would be really, really important. Not that the demolition wouldn't have been, but I think we're ahead of that already. I think we need to quickly pivot and look further into the future. Councilor Benson.
I think communication is one thing, but and if I don't know, I think it's worth a try. I've things get delayed, and if it's a 2 to 4 month demo, I think it's doable. I could just be really naive though. There's a lot of little businesses that are gonna be really affected, and it's more than communication, it's the financial piece too. You have a yoga studio across the street from a major demolition going down, and that would be a interesting shavasana also being laying there. Well, I think that, I just get concerned about that type, like communication is one thing, but it would be nice for them to have an avenue to voice their concerns, and I see this, when I look at the council select committees that we just eliminated, this seems like the perfect one, and a lot of those carry through the next council for
So,
Well, a lot of those select committees were done for certain projects, though.
Yeah.
And so once they were done, they
Yeah.
were done.
Yeah.
So we just eliminated those.
No, I
committees.
understand that, I'm just saying that this is a similar thing to that, and for Council Cashwell's question, where once this council ends, we just nominated new people to it.
Mhm. That's better.
I would just say the thing that's different about this is it's demolition versus construction of a building, right? This part is demolition, and council hasn't even had the opportunity yet to talk about their vision of what that building is gonna look like, what they wanna see, who they want us to reach out to, so I think that's a really good time to strike a select committee, just like you did when you built the Riverfront Center, built the skate park, built the pedestrian bridge, we're building things. This is just taking some old buildings down similar to the Union, when they brought the Union down, and that was quick done, and there it sits, so, I do think the timing, as from a staff point of view, it's going to be very difficult to get any type of constructive conversations going at a committee level. I think that the city is always open to taking concerns and complaints. And that's part of having our communications protocol that we have set out, is that we are receiving those things. So if people are having problems, they need to come to the city and tell us. Having a committee, to go and tell a committee to come and tell us, it's gonna be too short to deal with those issues. So we need to be really proactive, because this is, in terms of a project length of time, it's short. And it could be real short.
Councilor Cash.
Yeah, thank you to the chair. I was thinking that maybe this would be a good foundational point. We can carry this committee through to the construction stage. But my thoughts on it now would be that there could be a significant time gap in that empty space stage. And I think we could lose momentum, we could lose membership, we could lose everything that we're trying to accomplish if we set it up too early. So my thoughts would be to wait until we've got the plan in place, until we know when construction's going to start. And then that would be the time I think that we need to maybe develop a select committee. That would be my thoughts on this. So at this point in time, I think I appreciate what you're doing, Councillor Benson. I mean, there's no one can argue the need for communication is paramount. We know that our downtown businesses are going to be negatively impacted. They need to be supported in any way that we can, but I think it's too soon. I think it's too late, I'm sorry, to look at a select committee for the demolition. And I don't want to start that committee and then it'll just kind of go dormant while we wait a considerable period of time. I hope I'm wrong on that, before we can start the construction stage. So for that reason, as much as I respect the motion and the intent behind it, I think it's commendable for sure. I'm not going to be able to support it for that reason. So I just want to be clear on that. But I do thank you for it. It's an excellent motion.
And one of the things that I was thinking of is maybe we start the communication plan sooner than later, than the one that we were given.
Yeah, we're gonna start as soon as the tender's awarded. We can't really do it until
And
the tender's awarded.
Yeah.
Because we don't know the ins and outs of whether it's gonna be a 2-month project or a 4-month project or a 2-week project. But we will start the project page on our website, that type of thing. We'll start putting that together.
Councilor Benson.
But as this motion was for 2023 in terms of downtown communication, when I just being added on to that, like, is that just dead then? We're not gonna do a downtown communication?
All I can speak to that is right now, Claire is working on an all over city, which includes the downtown communications plan. So that's part of what she's working on, is the overall encompassing communications for the city. And part of that is the downtown core. So she is making efforts towards getting that done. It's just not downtown, but downtown's part of that overarching for the entire city. And there's significant pressure to get that in front of council.
Okay. So the motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the, Councillor Benson's motion? Opposed? So the motion was carried. There you go. Okay, so on to next meeting. The next meeting is April 28th, 2025 for the committee of the whole, followed by the regular council meeting at 6 p.m. Is there anyone for question period?
We have 2 people online. Those that are watching online, if you have any questions, please use the raise hand function at this time. Seeing none?
Okay, thank you. A motion to adjourn, please. Council Martin and Council Benson. All those in favor? Thank you, that was carried. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.